Well, hello again everyone, and welcome back to the garden. It's the back end of week 3 of the lockdown, and I hope you've been enjoying the videos. And today I'm going to answer a question which is a great question, and it's about transition. So transition, this is the description of how we start the downswing, how we get from the top, make that transition and get down to a strong impact position to make the most of our speed and hit the ball from a square position and hit it as far as you possibly can from that power that you've generated. So we'll crack on with that now, and let's have a little look at where we're going to start, because obviously we do have to start with a backswing position which has got us into a position where we can actually then fire in the downswing and create that power. Well, to demonstrate on how I actually get myself back to the top of my backswing into a correct position and create that power in the downswing, I've brought out one of my trusty fishing catapults, because this is about how we're going to try and get this to work. So if you imagine now, the catapult is set into position, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it back and then I'm going to let it go. And that's the power that we want to generate from the top of the backswing. That snap, as we let that power go, we've created that wind at the top, and now we're going to use it to get the right kind of transition in the downswing. So the further I can pull that, or the more elasticity I can generate, bang, that's when I deliver the power at its best. Let's have a look and see how it looks in a golf swing. You saw the power of the catapult, the elastic band pulled back, then let go, driven forwards, releases from the pouch, and that's where the power came from, stretching that elastic band all the way back. In a golf swing, what we do is we create rotation, and that's how we get the elastic band to tighten in the backswing to then be released. So let's have a look and see what happens. We know that we create a rotation, the shoulders turning to 90 degrees, hips turning to a position which is suitable for you. It may be more for your shoulders to get to 90, or if you're a young athlete, then it could be a lot less. The key here is, as I turn to 90 degrees, you'll see that my right knee has rotated inwards as I've allowed myself to turn, and that's a very, very important position for us to look at. Turn, the right knee's come in, we know that the right leg is going to just back up just a little bit, not too much, because remember, the weight, as we explained in one of our videos from the start of the week, has turned to the inside of the right heel, and that left knee has now tucked in, and it may now come and rotate more towards a line of where the ball is. Once I've got myself into that position, you can see that I'm coiled up, the knee has worked slightly in, and now it's time to go. So how do I get from this great position at the top and start that downswing transition? Watching someone at full speed, it's very, very difficult to see how that shift in the downswing is timed, what moves first, and it's this sequence that we need to talk about next. We know, and all of you have lessons with me that will know, that I really preach to everybody that your rotation starts at the ground in your feet, then moves up your body, knees, hips, shoulders. But as we start the downswing, we get back to the ground and we start again with our feet. We don't start up here with the chest, and that's the big problem for those of you that come over the top of a shot and hit left to right slices. So as we start that downswing, the first and most important transition is that we've wound up to the top, That left knee had just moved itself in. I can feel my weight on the inside of my right heel, and now the left knee separates as the hands start their motion down to retain the angle of the shaft. Okay, let's have a look at that again now, because that's the golden move, and that's the move that we need to get right. We'll set up to this one with driver. Again, I'll wind to the top. The left knee separates forward as I now feel my weight has driven down and into my left knee and foot, and the hands have now made their journey back down into that position. So that's a really important start to how you're going to get that downswing moving in a correct sequence. As I say, we don't go from here, and that's the important thing. And what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at that in slow motion, so you can actually see the sequence beginning to unfold and see what happens as that left knee winds in. Now it winds back out again, and I'm preset with my weight to then deliver the golf club after the weight has shifted forward and I've rotated towards the target. Let's take a look at that now. Well, as you can see there, on closer inspection, I created my wind, and then out went the left knee, transitioning the weight into the left side. And as the sequence worked, we saw the knee moving out as the club dropped into position. And now you can see that my right side is engaged. The key also here as well is, as that left knee has journeyed towards the target, look what's happened to my right elbow. It's taken its place just inside my rib cage, and now the swing has narrowed slightly as I've delivered the club through. And this late hit, as we call it, this retaining of the hinge angle, elbow into the rib cage, creating the path of arms that's necessary for you to hit it from the inside. Really, really important position. We'll take a look at that now from a different angle, so that you can get a much better idea of what that right elbow does as the left knee engages. Well, that's certainly a powerful action. The ball has been driven forwards. It's very, very difficult to see, as I say, at that kind of speed. So let's have a look at that one slowed down. And certainly this time now, what we're going to be looking for is what happens to that right elbow as we engage that left knee shift. And that's what gets you set down into a fantastic position, ready to turn through the ball. So let's have a look at that now. We're set up to the ball. You can see the left knee has wound in, but as the knee separates, now look what's happened to my right elbow. And from here, this is where I turn through and generate that power. Let's slow it down. We'll have a look at it. You'll get a much better idea in slow motion, and you can see how that sequence works from the ground to deliver the arms into the right position. Okay, so the talk of transition, that's what we've been doing today, and I think it's probably best for me to give you a little bit of a recap now, because as you can see, whilst this movement looks fairly simple for an established player, putting all this together in a swing takes lots and lots of practice. So how would we go about practicing a new transition if you don't use your legs, if you don't use those arms in the correct position? what are we going to do to try to help you to get those positions sorted out. So simple enough. Take your setup, and you can use any club you want. You can use an iron. I would use a 7-iron or an 8-iron maybe. I'm using a driver today just to show you the extent of how that club stays behind me and how the arms get into the right position, but you could use any club at all. Let's have a look now. Set up, and if we went right through the start of videos from the whole of the last 2 weeks, we're set up. I've got my new FootJoy Pro SL carbon shoes on, so I've got great footing. Ball position left heel. I've turned myself to the 90-degree position, and my left knee has travelled inwards. As I start my downswing, I'm pulling the shaft with the elbow into the rib cage, and the left knee has travelled forwards. I haven't done this. This is a completely different movement. This is us sliding into the ball, no rotation. This is a millisecond preset driving of the left knee, and that's what gets the downswing started. So let's have a look at that again. Up we go. The knee separates forward as the hands drop into position, and as that club drops onto the right plane and line, now we can turn through the ball. So I would break your practice down into making a practice swing to the top of the swing and stop. Feel the left knee driving forward as the weight is transferring into that left knee, and now the elbow stays onto the rib cage and the club is well behind me, ready to deliver the club to the ball. I hope you've enjoyed today's video on transition. It's how we move our weight, it's how we start the downswing. Most important thing is always in golf to remember that rotation starts in your feet and comes up. It never starts up here and goes down. We use the ground, feel the weight into the ground as it goes forwards, and if you can get those things practiced in the garden, I'm sure you're going to be driving the ball so much further. Really strong ball flight, maybe a little bit of draw. Again, I hope you've enjoyed it. See you again tomorrow.